I believe by now you are all aware that Vladimir Putin won't attend the BRICS summit in South Africa next month. But why? Why Vladimir Putin have to come and change his mind after South Africa had engaged themselves in a different negotiation, whether it is inside the court, whether it is with the ICC, whether it is the international activities such as the NATO's and the US, in order for them to let South Africa welcome Vladimir Putin in this summit. All this sadly, today, Vladimir Putin had to announce and confirm that you will not attend the BRICS summit. For what reasons? Because this is the question many people they are asking themselves right now. And trust me, in this video, we're going to tell you exactly what motivated Vladimir Putin to change his mind after all this saying that Vladimir Putin will attend this BRICS summit or not. At the end of the day, the man himself have to come and give his point of view or confirm that he will not attend this BRICS. Before we get to develop more about what Vladimir Putin gave as his reasons, I want you first to have listened to the ANC spokesperson who had to come and address the media or brief the media about all of this. About this confirmation that the president of Russia had refused to not come to South Africa. What is his motivations? Before we get to develop more, first have listened to what the spokesperson of the ANC had said earlier on.
Why then you would deem this as a victory? He's walked the talk, but in what sense?
Well, he's walked the talk in the sense of pursuing negotiations with all parties involved for as long as it took to get to this by mutual agreement decision for President Putin not to attend the BRICS summit. We do think that it positions South Africa quite well in terms of its non-alignment position, but also South Africa took a very firm stance that we would like to have President Putin in South Africa.
And that's really been your stance, that you welcome Putin coming here. But a lot of criticism was leveled against the ANC-led government to say, why don't you just ask Putin not to come? If he's really your friend, he should also be caring about the precarious position that South Africa was placed in through that issuing of the warrant of arrest.
Well, I suppose that the ANC, as well as the governing party in South Africa, will not come to such a decision without consulting. I do think that a lot of emphasis needed to be placed on diplomatic channels because we still are part of a rules-based system. In fact, it speaks very strongly also about the respect of the rule of law. It also speaks very strongly about the President Putin was also gracious enough to understand what would have been a sticky situation had this happened. And so I do think that it's a win-win situation either way you look at it. Also because the Russian delegation will be there at the summit. And so we're not losing or missing out on any member state in the BRICS community.
Listen to her talking. I have the impression if like this is what the ANC they've been looking forward to see. This is what the ANC they've been expecting for it to happen. Because how did it take so long in order for them to announce or pronounce themselves about these things? Because there is a lot of pressure that they get, the ANC government, and yet they were not saying much about it. I remember President of Republic, President Cyril Ramaphosa, saying that he's the only one who have the last words about all this. He's the only one who will have to say the last word about whether Vladimir Putin will attend this summit or not. And it took forever. At the end of the day, we could not even hear from the president himself, as he was the last person to say the last words. Instead, we end up seeing or hearing President Vladimir Putin confirming that he is no longer coming to South Africa for the BRICS summit. So you can tell that something's not sitting well about all this. Remember, as we're talking right now, inside the Johannesburg High Court, we're having the DA who went there to submit also their complaint, so that the High Court will say that South Africa should not allow Putin to arrive in. Is this also could be the reason why Putin did not want to come? Well, that's just one of the questions people are asking themselves out there. At the same time, these same people do not want to see them to see Vladimir Putin coming to South Africa. They've been working together with the ICC, with NATO, and the US, who've been motivating them in order for them to put pressure on South Africa government so that they don't allow Vladimir Putin to come in. In one of our previous videos, we had a conversation with you guys about this, and we asked ourselves this simple question just to say, the DA leaders who are busy marching and putting a lot of effort in order for Vladimir Putin not to arrive in South Africa, how many times they have put or showed this same effort to the people of Africa continent? Because you're not going to tell us that in Africa we don't have conflict, in Africa we don't have war, in Africa we don't have things which are worse, much better than what is happening in Ukraine. But these leaders with their political parties, how many times have you heard them talking about African countries? For an example, with what is going on in Sudan. How many times have you on your own heard them condemning anything which is happening in Sudan? Instead, we are all surprised to see them having this kind of solidarity when it comes to people of Ukraine. Now we ask ourselves a question to know whether they are part of Africans or not. Because you can't leave your house being in fire for you to go and try to rescue the house of the neighboring, which are also having the same fire. That it is only if you don't care about your own people, your own children. But what can we say? They always say that, show me your friends, I'll tell you who you are. And now it is more clear. After this announcement was made publicly that the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, was not coming, we end up seeing the president of DA, Mr. John, coming also in media to welcome the withdrawal of Vladimir Putin to not come to South Africa. And he sounded very excited. For what reasons? I don't know. Perhaps this obviously it could be their, should I say, their victories. Something that they were also expecting, they really wanted to happen. But the plans that I will discuss with you in this video, after listening to what Putin, what are the reasons for that, what are the reasons that made Vladimir Putin to not come in South Africa, you'll be shocked and you'll be surprised. But have first listen to what the president of DA had said earlier on in the media.
Well, I think it's great news for South Africa because it averts a potential international crisis that would have had a reverberation onto the domestic situation in South Africa. So we're obviously very pleased Mr. Putin won't be here. Obviously less than pleased that government equivocated for so long around what its position would be in upholding its international obligations in terms of the Statute of Rome and the domesticated version of it. But nonetheless, very, very happy that Mr. Putin won't be coming here. And obviously, this will have a broader impact on, more positively, on attempts to stay part of AGOA, as well as our relations with our largest trading partners around the world.
Could it be true that these are the representative of the open eye mast? Because listening to him talking, obviously you'll tell that it works in the advantage of certain people out there. And for him, he considered this as something to be celebrated because of the AGOA affairs and everything. Wow. Guys, we always said that, we all know that USA, they are the biggest bullies that this world never had before. They can bully you and they have their own way of doing so. And whenever they do it, they will have to succeed if you are not that strong. Whenever you try to stand on your feet, whenever you try to remain focused and unite with your people to stand against their bullies, you'll find them on your ways, and it will be very dangerous for them because they know if you resisted them for so long, perhaps you might end up turning things around and they'll fail to succeed to the point. And we know that they use their currency, they use their military bases around the world. They get to inflate you in a different politics, affairs, department, security service. They do all those things because they want to have a word to say on your politics. And when the US comes in the country, they make sure that they have people such as these people, the one who just finished talking. They need those kind of people who will be talking in their behalf, who will be defending them in case if they don't have to speak that much. They need those people who will be following up everything for them. Because this is supposed to be the time when the whole country is supposed to be united. Everyone try to understand that this is not all about Vladimir Putin coming to South Africa or not. This is not all about Putin being arrested in South Africa or not. This is about South Africa's sovereignty, which is being put online. Have you asked yourself a question, how do US get to invade many countries around the world? It's because of people like him. It's because of people who don't understand that the sovereignty of their countries, everything that can put them to be strong in the world. Once you lost that sovereignty, the right of your own sovereignty, it's like you lost your own power. You're not going to be able to survive. No one will defend you. You'll become useless. You'll be having a president or a government which will be considered as a puppet government. Because that is how they do it. They'll come and try to tell you what to do. They'll come and try to impose their leadership on you. And if you accept, just because you want to collaborate, just because you want to have listen to what they're saying, if you accept, then they'll step on you. The next things, they'll start telling you what to do and not what to do. Let me give you a very simple example. See what they did with AGOA. Cancelling an AGOA that's supposed to be taking place in South Africa. That is not just a threat. That is a way of them trying to tell you that, no, look, you can't resist us whenever we want to take control of your country, whenever we want to take control of everything. So you have to do things in our own way and not in your own way. Though it is your country, but you have to listen to us. They've been doing that. They are doing it in NATO, whereby they'll sit many countries, they'll decide about something. If the US does not confirm or talk about it, then no one have the right to go ahead in the media, in the media and talk about it. This is how they do their things. This is how they deal with other people's business. So, for the fact that South Africa, with the ruling party ANC, including opposition party with Julius Malema and their people, for the fact that they stood together and said that Vladimir Putin is welcome in South Africa, that was a very big word that they're supposed not to say to the US with its alliance. That was a very big challenge that the US could not accept as well. That is the reason why you see them, they become so desperate to the point of start putting pressure on the ICC in order for them to arrest Vladimir Putin. Forgetting that if there are people who need to be arrested in this world, that will be them first. Because they're the one who have violated all the international laws, all the United Nations charters. They're the one who get to violate it. And whenever they're doing so, they're doing it by coming with this so-called democracy. We're doing this because of democracy. And through that democracy, that's where they will kill, they will violate the right of your country, they will violate your sovereignty, and they will impose their leadership. in order for them to control your minerals, in order for them to control your economy, in order for them to control the whole situation of your countries. That's what they do. We all know. Because it does not make sense whereby you find that they organize this so-called ICC, International Criminal Court. They call all the countries around the world to go over there and sign for it. We know there are some countries which refuse, such as China, Russia, North Korea, and United States of America. They were not part of it. They were not part of it. And according to this ICC, you can only be arrested if your country is part of that organization. But I don't know what happened this time that made things to just turn around all the suddenly, just like that, without any explanations, all just in order, I mean, because they want to please a certain group of people out there in the world. So South Africa refusing to not arrest Vladimir Putin, it was not because South Africa is afraid of Vladimir Putin or what, no. It was just because South Africa wanted to protect its own sovereignty. It is their right to choose whether Vladimir Putin can come inside the country or not. And not what we are seeing now out there. Not what we are seeing from these people who are trying to come and say, okay, fine, if you guys you refuse, this is not going to happen, this is not going to happen. They've been doing this, guys. They went in Uganda. They tried to put the same pressure with Yoweri Museveni. Yoweri Museveni was even more clear. He told them straight away that, look, you don't come here and tell us what to do things in your country, in our country, because you guys are doing it in your countries. Sometimes I always ask myself a question whereby, how will it be if it happened that one of the African countries go to one of these countries and try to tell them what to do in their politics? Will them even have a chance to listen? And what will happen if they refuse? Can only one African country have the courage to go and try to sanctions and try maybe to stop doing business with them? Obviously, African countries, we've been trying to make ourselves powerless while we have all the authority. So that was the fear of the US, seeing that South Africa, they stood against what they were suggesting for South Africa to do. Okay, fine. Now, Vladimir Putin refused to come to South Africa. For what reasons? Because a lot is being said already in the media. I come across this other interview, and the question was put to this gentleman was to tell him that Vladimir Putin is not coming to South Africa because South Africa, they don't want him. If South Africa want him, maybe he was gonna come, but he decided to not come because South Africa, they don't want to see him, because South Africa, they're afraid of the ICC and the NATO countries. Okay? People, that was just people saying. But I want you first to pay attention to this video I'm about to play for you. And in this video, we're having a spokesperson of Vladimir Putin. I mean to say a former spokesperson of Vladimir Putin and a former Russia deputy in the parliament deputy, who had to come and speak in behalf of President Vladimir Putin and try to explain some of the reasons. Have a listen for yourself, then we'll develop more after then.
Should be made more clear, because according to my information, situation is quite different, and this it's not so much Vladimir Putin want to come to South Africa and South Africa authorities don't want to see him. But on contrary, President of South Africa, who visited Moscow 3 weeks ago, asked Vladimir Putin to come to South Africa to take part in this summit. But Vladimir Putin not sure that he wants to come. Vladimir Putin don't want to come because security problems, but it's not from because International Criminal Court decision, but it's because possibility of terrorist attack against Vladimir Putin, and this terrorist attack could be organized by United States of America or United Kingdom. Because they demonize Vladimir Putin, and they support terroristic methods of Ukrainian government. So situation from my point of view, on contrary, it's not Putin want to come, and South Africa authorities ask him not to come. But South Africa president asked Putin to come, and president very reluctant because security issue, and security of President Putin jet has not been for sure, because very long distance through the whole Africa, and some of the African countries has too good relation with United States and United Kingdom. It's such is.
All right.
And Deputy President of South Africa, it looks like he had been appointed on this position just 4 months ago, not according to will of President of South Africa. And it looks like that Vice President of South Africa now try to undermine position of President of South Africa.
Look, before we get even to comment much about what this gentleman say, I want to remind you, if you guys still remember, last month, President Ramaphosa, in their mission with some of the African leaders as they were going to negotiate a peace between Russia and Ukraine, in his agenda, President Ramaphosa had told the nation of South Africa that they will be going, of course, to Ukraine. They will see President Zelensky. After then, they'll go and see President Putin. And after that meeting with other 6 African leaders, President Ramaphosa is supposed to be having head-to-head a conversation between him and Vladimir Putin. Do you guys still remember that, isn't it? Yes, and it is true that conversation took place. President Ramaphosa had a conversation with the President Vladimir Putin. Everything was fine. Whatever they discussed in that conversation, we are not aware about it because it was not made publicly. And remember here, politicians, when they do their things, sometimes they don't want to tell people, because politicians prefer to tell people what they want people to know and to hide what they don't want people to know about them. So, by the way, I myself am not surprised of what was the outcome of that conversation. But from what we have in our resource, obviously the conversation, it was all about the arriving of Vladimir Putin in South Africa, whether he was going to come or not. So it was kind of like President Ramaphosa trying to have a conversation with Putin, telling him what South Africa they're facing is challenge, telling him what could be the possible, what is giving this ICC and other world organizations to talk much about Putin to be arrested in South Africa, because South Africa, it is a sign, one of the countries that had signed to this ICC. So therefore, he had to explain everything to Vladimir Putin and show him also the possible ways that they can guarantee his security or his coming in South Africa. And I believe, according to me, the way I'm understanding the whole things, I believe President Putin maybe was like, okay, I heard you, you can go, I'll let you know. Let me think about it. I'll tell you whether I'm gonna come or not. And that is the reason why you will see President Ramaphosa not commenting much, not even telling much whether Putin will come or not. The only things he will say is that is the last person who will have the last word to say when it comes to Vladimir Putin coming to South Africa. So, now that Vladimir Putin decided to come and say that he's not coming to South Africa, obviously, they have to come up with a reason. They need to come up with something that will make people understand that, yeah, okay, it makes sense. And when you listen to this former spokesperson of Vladimir Putin government, this man is saying that when Ramaphosa was there in Russia, he went actually to beg Vladimir Putin to come to South Africa. He went there to ask him for him to come in South Africa for this BRICS summit. So, in other words, the government of Cyril Ramaphosa was more ready to welcome Vladimir Putin. As I said in the previous part, that this was not about Vladimir Putin coming to South Africa. This is not about him being arrested inside South Africa or not. This was about South Africa's sovereignty, which was challenged by the US with its alliance, whereby they have to come and impose their leadership and tell you what to do within your country. And that is something that President Ramaphosa could not accept. As he once said in one of his address, where he said that they should count South Africa out of this nonsense. If you guys are having your problems, go and deal among yourself. Go and do your things the way you want to do, but leave South Africa aside. You can't involve South Africa in your conflicts. So, President Ramaphosa, with his government, they've been so determined to not let the sovereignty of South Africa be challenged by other countries or any nations out there. And that was the reason why, according to me, according to my own understanding, he had to go and beg Vladimir Putin, just in case maybe Putin was having some doubts. But unfortunately, Putin confirmed that is no longer coming to South Africa for BRICS summit. Okay, fine. Now let us now dive through to what are his reasons, and let us try to think together and see whether this does make sense or not. Reason number one: Putin is not coming to South Africa because, according to the secret service information that he have on his table, there is a terror attack which is being proclaimed or arranged by US and UK that will take place in his absence inside Russia. So, which means when Putin is inside South Africa attending the BRICS summit, then there will be some terror attack taking place over there in Russia. Is that true? Well, I'm not part of the secret service for Vladimir Putin to confirm all that. But according to my own understanding, according to my own analysis, I'll say that at this point, anything it is possible. Yes, you heard me correct. Anything it is possible, because this is the elephant fight. And you know, when the big elephants are fighting, it is only the grasses that get to suffer or feel the consequences of all that fighting. So at this point, anything it is possible, because America, with its alliance, they are ready to do anything by all means to make sure that Vladimir Putin goes down. They are ready to do anything in order for them to win over Russia. They want to succeed with their mission in Ukraine. So any possible way that will make sure that they bring some instability inside Russia, they are ready, they are willing to do so by any cost. And if it happened that one of the easy way that they can succeed is by bringing some instability inside Russia, by start bringing the terrorist attack, they'll do so. That is how this world works like with politicians. Because not long ago, still this year, Vladimir Putin escaped an assassination, which they had sent some specialists to go and finish him off. We all saw the videos on how those two men, they were captured. Besides that, you guys, you heard about it, is it what do you call them again? Wagon, what? Those rebellions who were supposed to be the right hand to Vladimir Putin, but they end up turning against him. For what reasons? You'll never gonna know. Maybe they already buy them. You're never gonna know. So, besides for the fact that him is not in South Africa, because if he was in South Africa, things could have been even more worse. That one, we all know. We all know anything could have happened, because it was gonna cost himself a lot of money for him to prepare his securities on the field, whether it is in South Africa, whether it is back home. He needed to have people that he trusted the most, people that will have his back in case if he's outside of the country. After all, is this the right time for him to leave the country? Those are the questions that I believe President Putin had asked himself. Because I know actually one of the African country, I think it is Burundi, if I'm not mistaken, with former president, the late president Kurkinzai. What is his name again? I was about to say Kurkinyata, not Kurkinyata. This president of Burundi who died recently. Okay, the name is gonna come. So this man, he was also a victim of something like that, of a military coup, whereby he left the country just because he had some small conflict within his country. And he went to Tanzania, if I'm not mistaken. He went to Tanzania for some African meetings and what. By the time he was about to get the flight to go back, they tell him that the country is no more under your leadership. The military, they have took over. And the man, he got stuck in Tanzania. He could not go back, because if he had to go back without him preparing his return, then they were gonna arrest him or even kill him. But he managed to survive because he called upon all African countries who had to go and have his back, who had to understand that this man, he was in the African missions, and we can't just let him lose his power over this. So they denied that military government, and then he did try to negotiate some of people who were inside the country, whether it is in the military, whether it is within his government. He ended up having some people who having his back. That is how he managed to go back to the country. So I'm telling you all this reason is because this can also happen with President Vladimir Putin, whereby if he leave Russia and he come to South Africa, he end up finding himself that he can't go back anymore because someone have taken over there. Yeah, anything that is possible. So it is we can't just see it in the way of him being outside of Russia and there is some terror attacks taking place over there. And that is the reason why he don't want to give pleasure to any person. He don't want to make mistake that he will end up regretting later on. So he kind of like feel like he's more secure, he's more stronger, he's more powerful inside Russia, but not outside Russia, because he believed that if he have to go outside Russia, it will be kind of like he's exposing himself, because he don't know exactly who can come and turn against him. This is politics, guys. And politics comes with a lot of challenge. Politics comes with a lot of things. And that is what happened exactly here. So, now, for the fact that Vladimir Putin, he refused to not come to South Africa because he believed there is a terror attack which is being proclaimed. Okay, fine. Let's just try to think a little bit about why US with UK have to go and plan terror attack in Russia. Well, they are doing this because of the simple reasons. They have tried to tell Russia what to do in order for Russia to let go of Ukraine to be part of NATO, because we know that is this all about. Russia did not do so. They went on and put billions of money, and these billions of US dollar, it is not only about US and NATO had contributed to it. No, they went far. They tried to influence, which by the way it works for them, to the IMF to go and give a loan to Ukraine, and the IMF went on and did so, though it is violating the rules of these organizations, but they had to go and do so because according to their rules, they are not allowed to borrow or give a loan to any country that is under conflict or in the war, for the obvious reasons, because it will give you power for you to go and buy as much guns as you want, and you will entertain the fight or the war conflict that you are having. You're not going to want it to finish. And that is what is happening exactly with Ukraine. Since they have now enough money, since they have enough support, obviously, all the possible way that can bring a quick peace among these two nations is not an option for them. They had to go and influence again the ICC so that ICC can launch an arrest warrant against Vladimir Putin. And that did not either work. Today we finally have the final result. Today we now know that Vladimir Putin won't be coming to South Africa. Now, perhaps in their mind, since South Africa was so determined to make sure that Vladimir Putin arrive and return back home safe, in their mind perhaps they were like, okay, fine, let us have a plan B, just in case if Vladimir Putin decides to go to South Africa, what can we do in order for us to take control? That is when they have to come with all these plans, saying that Vladimir Putin, if he have to go there, there'll be this, there'll be this, they'll do that. Because all they need is to bring instability. And I told you, one of the ways that they manage to to bully any country around the world and walk away free, is to bring instability in that country. And if it is one of these, if it is one of these your small countries that we see around the world, they'll bring instability in your country, and they'll come and try to suggest a solution. That is the reason why you had even Julius Malema saying that, give me one country only in the world that they were having some conflict or some problems, and the USA come and change everything around in the good way. Which is not the case, because even myself, I never not seen any. Instead, everything they touch, they leave it broken. So they kind of like using this as a plan B. And Putin, as clever as he is, he had to also to feel like, no, I can't just sit and try, sit and relax and and feel like, no, if I have to go to South Africa, I'll come back safe here. He took his own precourse so that he can avoid this kind of nonsense. Now, what next? That is something that we'll need to wait and see what will happen. Because, as I told you in our previous video, that there is no way that this war will finish anytime soon. Because the more you guys you expect that this war will finish soon, the more Russia becoming even stronger. Russia is becoming stronger each and every day. Compare to the Russia that was yesterday when this war started. The US, they were more convinced that they'll defeat Russia as soon as possible. That is when they come so harsh on Russia, putting sanctions on Russia, freezing all the Russia assets in the international reserve banks, keeping more than 360 billion of Russia assets. That's not a small money, guys. That is the money of a lot of budgets for African countries, even Asia countries. Why not Europe countries? There are some countries there in Europe, their budget is not even 50 billion US dollar. But they had to keep that money. They put all kind of sanctions against Russia. But still, Russia is surviving. They start imposing or putting pressure on other countries that are not voting in favor of them. Countries that decide, guys, just imagine that you are doing the vote and you decide to remain neutral. For them, you can't remain neutral. You have to come and decide, and you have to vote against Russia. So they kind of like trying to impose their leadership each and every time. They do all these things, but yet Russia is still surviving. So right now, they are desperate to the point that they don't even know for how long will Russia keep on resisting them. I was listening to one of the USA media. They were debating, a serious debate. And apparently, most of American politicians who were against Joe Biden administration to attack Putin in Ukraine, they are now coming in their numbers to start fighting Biden, saying that you are busy wasting all our taxpayer money, spending a lot of money in Ukraine, yet you are not able to defeat Russia. And who knows, perhaps this can be the beginning of the defeat for President Joe Biden in the upcoming election next year in 2024. Because Americans, they don't play. They will vote you, but if you can't do what you agree on, or if you are busy damaging things, they'll teach you a lesson. We saw it with Donald Trump. Why not with Joe Biden? So guys, we shall wait and see. By the way, President Putin cancelled his journey to South Africa for BRICS summit for the obvious reasons, because there is a terror attack which is being prepared by Americans and the government of UK. Well, that is him saying, but sometimes we don't just have to buy everything which comes from politicians, because politicians, they are capable of anything. Could be something much worse than this one, we're never gonna know. Yeah. Can we consider this as the first defeat for Vladimir Putin? We are leaving that up to you to also give your point of view through the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. It was very important that we engage in this conversation this evening, since it is just a news that came up today, and we feel like we need to give you also our point of view through our analysis. Do us a favor before you leave, please, guys. It is very important. Make sure that you hit that like button and the subscribe button as well. Follow us in our social media. We'll really do appreciate, because what we do here, we educate each other. We talk about Africa in general. We talk about different topic that is happening in Africa. We try to keep the history of Africa alive, because many people are out there with bad intention to delete the history of Africa. Of course, we also try to throw our eyes here and then around the world on different matters that we get to discuss. So if you don't want to miss any of our videos, you just have to make sure that you click that bell, so that whenever we upload a video, you don't miss any of it. For now, continue to be yourself, be good, be kind, have respect for everyone in order for you to be respected. May God bless you all. Stay out of trouble, because we still need you here. I'll see you again very soon in our next video. Ciao, ciao.